Do you like your coffee black? Yeah, don't answer that. I know you don't. Well, how about some cream and sugar? There we go. Better. And now let me tell you a story about a painter who trapped souls in his paintings. Oh, good. You like stories. How about a horror story? Excellent. He was an artist, one of those painters who just had to express himself. He would fill canvases with tormented souls, screaming and clawing for release. But he wasn't painting from imagination. No. His models were real, drawn into his paintings by mystical pacts made in moments of desperation and despair. The catch was once they were immortalized on canvas, they could never leave. They were trapped forever, doomed to wander the artwork for all eternity. And their torment became part of the painting, part of the artist's macabre legacy. His name was Osamu, and he lived in an old Victorian mansion at the edge of town. It was a place where shadows stretched long and secrets lingered longer. As rumors spread about his dark art, collectors clamored to buy his pieces, not realizing that they were acquiring more than just paint and canvas. They were buying a ticket to hell. Each stroke of Osamu's brush pulled another soul into his web, and soon the house echoed with the whispers of the damned. One day, a young woman named Yumi stood before one of his haunting canvases. She saw the souls trapped within and felt their sorrow like her own. She knew she had to help them. Little did she know that she was walking into a nightmare from which there would be no awakening. Yumi was an art historian, someone who understood the strokes of genius and the nuances of artistic expression. So when she heard about Osamu and his peculiar paintings, she was intrigued. She needed to see it for herself, to stand in the presence of such tormented souls captured in paint. But what she didn't realize was that each step closer to the house brought her closer to a fate worse than being trapped in a painting. She found the house shrouded in mist, almost as if it were trying to hide from the world. The gnarled branches of ancient trees clawed at the windows, and the front door seemed to sag under the weight of untold horrors. Yet she pressed on, driven by her need to understand, to comprehend the darkness that had birthed such haunting art. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and despair. Cobwebs draped the furniture like shrouds, and the only light came from shafts of sun piercing through grime-coated windows. The silence was heavy, broken only by the pounding of her own heart. Then she saw him, Osamu, his eyes burning with an otherworldly light as he stood before one of his paintings, a macabre smile on his lips. Their eyes met, and something in her snapped. She felt a connection to this man, a pull towards him that she couldn't explain. And before she knew it, she was agreeing to stay in the house, to observe him, to witness his art firsthand. Days turned into weeks, and Yumi found herself enveloped in the darkness of the house. She watched Osamu work, listened to the tormented whispers of the trapped souls, and slowly, inexorably, she began to fall under his spell. Osamu welcomed Yumi into his world. He showed her his art, his obsession, and in doing so, he revealed the depths of his madness. He spoke of his pact with the demons, of the souls he imprisoned, and of the terrible power that flowed through his veins. Meanwhile, the souls trapped in the paintings reached out to Yumi. They pleaded with her to help them break free, to undo the curse that bound them. Their cries tore at her heart, but she was frozen in place, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything but watch as Osamu reveled in his dark glory. Then it happened. One night, Osamu looked at Yumi and smiled, a smile that promised pain and welcomed her into his madness. She resisted at first, but the pull was too strong. She felt herself being drawn into the canvas, into the swirling vortex of colors and emotions. And then she was inside the painting, surrounded by the very souls she had come to save. They were everywhere, reaching out to her with pleading eyes, begging her to help them. But she couldn't. She was trapped now, ensnared by the same curse that held them captive. And then she saw him, Osamu, standing at the edge of the painting, watching her with amusement dancing in his eyes. He was the master of this domain, the puppet master of this hellish realm, and she was his newest acquisition, his latest prize. As she struggled to break free, the souls reached out to her, their combined strength momentarily giving her hope. But then Osamu spoke, his voice echoing with power. "You cannot escape," he said, his words dripping with malicious delight. "You are mine now, body and soul." Trapped in this nightmarish landscape, Yumi confronted her own mortality. She grappled with the fear of eternal damnation, the terror of being lost in this twisted realm forever. In the depths of her despair, she realized the full extent of Osamu's madness. He hadn't just painted tormented souls. He had become one with them, feeding off their despair, reveling in their suffering. And now he was offering her the same fate, hoping she would join him in his abyss. But Yumi refused to give in. She clung to the last vestiges of hope, refusing to let Osamu drag her down into his hell. In that moment of defiance, she drew strength from the very souls he had imprisoned. Their collective sorrow resonated with her own, forging a bond that transcended their captivity. And then something remarkable happened. The souls, recognizing her compassion, her willingness to help, rallied around her. Their combined energy surged through the painting, shaking its foundations and threatening to shatter the very fabric of Osamu's dark creation. He watched in disbelief as the painting, his masterpiece, his prison, began to unravel. The colors bled, the figures wailed, and the canvas itself seemed to writhe in pain. Seizing the opportunity, Yumi poured every ounce of her being into undoing the curse. She focused on the trapped souls, reaching out to them with all the strength she could muster. In that instant, the impossible happened. The souls broke free, pouring out of the painting, out of Osamu's hell. With a final surge of energy, Yumi shattered the canvas, releasing the last of the trapped souls and bringing an end to Osamu's reign of terror. As the house crumbled around them, Yumi and the freed souls escaped. The rising sun seemed to burn away the darkness, leaving behind a world that, while wounded, was whole once more. In the aftermath, Yumi knew that she would never forget what she had seen, experienced, and the bonds she had forged. The souls she had freed were gone, returning to the world of the living, and she was left alone to face the dawning of a new day. The memory of the trapped souls haunted her dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked in the world. Yet she also carried with her the knowledge that even in the darkest of places, hope could bloom. And so she lived her life forever changed by her encounter with the painter who trapped souls in his paintings. She dedicated herself to helping others, drawn to those who felt lost or trapped, always ready to lend a hand, a shoulder, or a listening ear. For Yumi knew that in a world where shadows danced and nightmares whispered, the greatest horror was not being trapped in a painting, but rather losing one's way in the labyrinth of life. And she walked that path with courage, forever marked by the ordeal she had endured, but forever grateful that she had emerged from the darkness to tell the tale.